Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a book that almost everyone has read at least once in their lives and may have heard of Robert Kiyosaki, the author of this book. As in the book, Robert Kiyosaki has come up with more gloomy warnings about the global economy, just like he did in the book. According to Kiyosaki, the world economy is on the verge of collapse, warning investors to be aware of several risks that could hurt their investments in the future. But why would he say that? Well, let's find out in today's video. Make sure to watch this video till the end. So as you can see, ever since the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc on the global economy, many people have lost their jobs and businesses have struggled to survive. While it is true that the impact of the pandemic was severe at the beginning, the impact may be even more devastating in the long run. And even though it's been almost 4 years since COVID hit the world, Robert Kiyosaki is still predicting an upcoming economic collapse, and it is complex and multifaceted. However, the reasons behind this are not as simple as it seems. First, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, significant disruptions have occurred in the global economy, affecting both the global economy's supply and demand. Since millions of people have been forced to stay at home as a result of lockdowns, the demand for goods and services has decreased as well, and due to the economic downturn, a number of businesses have had to shut down or reduce their operations, causing a decrease in supply. In turn, this has led to a decrease in economic activity as well as a decline in the growth of the GDP. There's also been a disruption to global supply chains due to the pandemic, as countries have closed their borders in order to prevent the spread of the disease throughout the world. Due to this, shortages of goods have occurred in a number of industries, including healthcare and technology. The disruption in supply chains has also led to a decrease in trade, which has negatively impacted countries that rely heavily on exports for their economic well-being. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic has also had a significant impact on the employment situation as well. The decline in demand for the products and services of many businesses has forced them to lay off workers or to reduce their working hours in order to cope with the decline in demand. In many countries, unemployment rates have risen sharply, and, as a result, more and more people have been unable to find a job as a result of these increases. As a result, when it comes to the global economy, the impact of this pandemic has already had a significant impact on the stock market. During the first months of the pandemic, there was a significant decline in stock markets all over the world. Despite the fact that some markets have since recovered, there is still a risk that some markets may collapse again in the near future. In addition, one of the main reasons why COVID-19 or any other pandemic might lead to another collapse of the stock market is because of the impact that it has had on businesses in recent months. Because of the pandemic, many businesses have been forced to shut down or reduce the number of employees. In the tech market, for example, which is entirely based on silicon, almost all of the projects were put on hold because of a shortage of chips in every corner of the world. Consequently, this is causing a decline in revenue and profitability for tech companies such as Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Tesla, which has had an adverse effect on their stock prices. Due to this fact, many investors have been selling their shares, which has resulted in pressure being placed on the stock market. And not only this, but the pandemic has also resulted in a decrease in consumer spending, which has adversely affected many businesses as well. Consumer-driven companies, such as retailers and restaurants, have seen a significant decline in their revenue as a result of the decline in consumer spending. As a result of this, the stock prices of these companies have dropped, and this has put pressure on the stock markets as well. So, globally, the effect of the pandemic has been felt all over the world, and there is a high risk of a stock market collapse in the coming months. But according to Robert Kiyosaki, there are measures that policymakers can take to prevent a stock market collapse and to support the global economy in times of crisis. According to him, in order to prevent a stock market collapse from occurring, governments should implement fiscal policies that support small and large businesses as well as individuals. It is possible for the government to provide financial support to businesses that have been affected by the pandemic, either through grants, loans, or tax breaks, depending on the circumstances. During these challenging times, businesses may be able to stay afloat with the help of this strategy, which may save them from going bankrupt. It is thought that the government might also be able to provide financial assistance to those who have lost their jobs because of the outbreak of the virus or have had their incomes reduced due to the outbreak through measures such as unemployment benefits or stimulus payments. In fact, the government can play a role in stabilizing the economy as well as preventing a stock market crash by supporting businesses and individuals to prevent them from going under. A further way to prevent a stock market collapse, according to Kiyosaki, is for central banks to implement policies that support the economy in order to implement monetary policies that support the economy. It is possible for central banks to lower interest rates in order to make borrowing money more affordable for businesses and individuals. As a result of this, economic activity can be stimulated in order to prevent a decline in GDP growth in the near future. Additionally, central banks are also capable of providing liquidity to financial markets by acquiring bonds or other financial instruments. This can be a useful first step in preventing a liquidity crisis, which can be a trigger for a collapse of the stock market in the future. Furthermore, governments have the option of implementing public health policies in addition to fiscal and monetary policies in order to strengthen the healthcare department. Although the pandemic has come to an end, there is still the possibility of another pandemic that might be similar to this one, or even more dangerous than it is now. As a result of public health restrictions, governments can also take measures to support businesses affected by those restrictions. For example, by offering subsidies on rents and utility bills. In order to prevent a stock market collapse, governments can help to minimize the impact of the pandemic on the economy by implementing public health policies that will help to prevent the onset of a public health crisis. In addition to this, according to Kiyosaki, investors can also take steps in order to protect their portfolios from a possible stock market collapse by taking steps to protect their portfolios. One way to achieve this is by diversifying their investments across different asset classes, such as stocks, bonds, and commodities, which will give them a more balanced risk profile. In this way, they can minimize the impact of a stock market collapse on their portfolio in the event that it occurs. There are also defensive sectors that investors can consider, such as healthcare, utilities, and consumer staples, which are advisable for investment purposes. In general, these sectors are less likely to be affected by economic downturns and may provide investors with some protection against a collapse in the stock market. I think it is fair to conclude that the recent pandemic has created a challenging environment for investors and businesses throughout the world. There has been a decline in economic growth as a result of the pandemic, an increase in unemployment rates, as well as the risk of a stock market collapse as a result of the effects of the pandemic. In spite of this, policymakers can take steps to prevent a stock market collapse and support the global economy. And if something like this occurs in the near future, they will be able to prevent both themselves and the country from suffering from such a fate. Well, what do you think? Tell us in the comments. And that's it for today's video. We hope you liked the video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, and for more such videos, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to press that bell icon. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.